2024. It is now 6:01 p.m. and I will call the meeting into order.
Thank you, Chairman Smith, Chairwoman Smith. This time we'll take the roll call. Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Cousins.
Here.
Commissioner Zarcos.
Here.
Commissioner Decker.
Here.
Commissioner McPherson.
Here.
Commissioner Wilkins absent. We have a forum. For all business, we have our accounts payable from May 2004, 2024. I'm sorry. The information has been sent out via email. Are there any questions? If not, may I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Now second.
Commissioner Cousin made the motion, so
I'll
Commissioner
second
Decker
it.
seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No opposed, the motion carried. The second order of business is approval of the accounts.
No.
Minutes, rather, right?
Yes.
Approval of the minutes for May 2024. Are there any questions?
I just want to say that you did a fabulous job on that. That was really good, extensive, and I appreciate the work that you did on that.
Thank you,
If I was not there, I definitely felt like I was there reading those minutes.
thank you, Bill.
I'll make that motion.
Commissioner Smith makes the motion,
Second.
second by Commissioner Cousins. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. At this time, resident commissioners, do you have anything to report?
There's actually a couple of things. So when people go to you about concerns that they have, and your response to them are, let me look into it, or let me see what's going on, or whatever the case could be. What is your timeline of getting back to them?
It depends on what the situation is. Some people right away, some people, it really depends on it. But what I would say, if they feel like I haven't responded in a reasonable amount of time, they're more than happy to follow up with me. Because there is a lot going on in the day to day, so they can say, hey, Mr. Dodson, you forgive me, which typically I didn't, but they can get back to me and I'll get back to you.
And then my second thing that I wanted to say was that I had talked to Katie Hilderman. Yeah, there we go. To get some funding to do activities for the families and children. And I'm waiting for her to contact Trish to see what we can do for the trips. But that's the only thing that I have.
Thank you for that. That'll be
Okay,
great.
Mary.
And hopefully,
sounds great.
hopefully we'll be able to discuss that further, at the resident meeting, which is coming up in July. Okay, and get some ideas from residents as well.
Anything from you, Jeff?
Commissioner McPherson, you have anything?
Yeah, cause, some of the guys want to stop playing
Speak up,
basketball.
please.
Some of the guys want to stop playing basketball. Have we discussed this already? And did you talk to security guard about it?
Well,
They want to play some
we never
basketball.
got a chance.
We never got a chance to
Yeah.
just go here.
Yeah, not this year, but, and the summer's not over, but
No.
let me just, you mind if I explain what you're talking about? What Commissioner McPherson is interested in, which I think is a great idea, is kind of organizing a tournament, for the kids to play basketball against each other, and we have some type of prize. She and I didn't get a chance to follow up, but I do have some concerns, because we have our basketball court, but it's not in the best condition, and so even though I wanted to do it, I have to look into the liability and concern
Yeah.
if somebody's playing and get hurt. So that's why that didn't come into fruition, but we can see, probably have to do waivers and all of that. And I don't want to brush things off, but
Yeah.
I want to make sure that the housing authority is protected at the
Right.
same time.
Yeah.
The kids got it. Now, that doesn't mean that we'll still try to gather people up while we're out there and go across the street and play games
Yeah,
on this Friday, but
yeah, cause the reason I say that, get them off the street, let them do something else.
now that's not gonna be like a regular activity. I was
No.
talking about doing it for
No,
the tenant appreciation. Day.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But, maybe also, we can look into doing something with the, community center.
Yeah,
See, either you center rather, see
Yeah.
if they can help us.
right, yeah.
I would think Tyrone Hedgepeth's nonprofit, Got Game Sports. Might be, Got Game Sports. Might be a good fit for that.
Thank you for that. This time we will have, the executive directors, report. We're just gonna, we don't have anything, any updates, any major updates or redevelopment, but, meetings and orders here. If you have any residents that have any questions today, they can ask her. Do you have a question about that? Oh, no, not about that. Okay. So we'll get to public comment. Yes, ma'am. Yep. So any residents have any questions for Marco, myself, and the Garden Development? Yes, come on.
And I also just wanted to flag for the residents, apologies for not bringing copies, but if you look online on the Hudson Housing Authority website, the latest questions and answers are up there. I think that they're dated June 3rd.
That's right.
And we've changed how we're taking questions from the public. So for the residents, really everyone is still welcome to come through and ask me the questions, but offline, instead of receiving the questions by email, like individually, Mr. Dodson or myself, or I know the board has like receiving questions individually. We're gonna take them through the Contact Us website that is now getting monitored to be development as well. And speaking for Mr. Dodson, and sorry, if you all have other like resident related questions, should they also be using that?
They can,
like,
they
okay.
can. But particularly, we wanted to let, everyone know that who has questions about development, that avenue that we had. Because that way we can monitor, and if there are additional questions and answers that need to be added to our questions and answer sheet, because we will consistently update it, we'll have that so we won't miss it and it will come to action.
I'm on the website now.
It's Hudson Housing Authority sorry.
But it's under the redevelopment tab.
There's
Oh,
a
no,
redevelop-
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Contact us. If you click and go all the way to the bottom of the, to the website. And then there should be contact us.
So you can just send your question.
Oh, so there's no updated FAQ, it's just.
Yes, there is.
So that's under.
That's under the redevelopment tab.
Okay, good, we developed that, but this is not there, maybe it's my.
No, it's there. Under, if you, there's,
Sorry, taking that there.
I know you put on the actual question, like the 6.3.
there are two documents there.
Great.
Oh, so it links to a Google Doc that is, yeah,
With questions and answers.
Questions.
got it, okay, great.
Right.
And Google Docs can be changed, so can you do a PDF instead, or you can upload it via tweet if you want to have it?
The intent is that it's like a document.
A
that
living
will change,
document.
Right, like, I mean, we will redate it when it's changed, but
Yeah.
hopefully, last time I think it was changed about a month ago. I mean, if we can change it every 2 weeks, that would be great, but we'll redate it whenever we change it.
Absolutely, constructive suggestion is revision history is an important feature of public copy. So if you can build it in, then I don't have to do it, but you can see the questions involved over time. Otherwise, someone would be like, hey, lots of questions 6 months ago, something like.
Those questions are still there. We're adding to the list. We're not
Okay.
taking them off. So, we're not-
I do suggest revision, it's good to save PDFs.
well, that's why we're putting the revision date. So we're not gonna do it that way.
Okay.
That's why we're putting revision dates.
Yep.
And the questions are added to that document, so it is consistently updated. It's a living document. And every time we change, every time we updated the date.
I understand.
And that is the
Reasons
history.
why federal and state wants to use the same PDF and system.
I understand.
I can do it for you guys.
Okay. No, thank you.
Great. No.
So I think that having multiple documents floating around though, is kind of like what we're trying to avoid here,
That's
right?
why I
It's
want
like-
you to maintain revision.
Well, so I think it's nice that at all times about the most current information on the website. And then that's just it. So if everyone knows the most current information is on the website, it's not like a question of, wait, I have a May 3rd version, like I have this version. It'll always be dated, but it'll be the most current on the website.
The one thing that,
I'm sorry. This is not a public comment period. Do you have a question about development? No, it's not. Okay.
So so then please, Mr. Dodson, tell me what the purpose of this meeting is that you said 2 months ago that if the citizens of Hudson want information about what's happening about the redevelopment, you come here. You said that publicly.
Ask your question.
There's two sections left before we get to public comment.
That's fine. So
That's
tell
all.
me,
Yeah.
I need to be educated, because you said in one of the meetings that. if
But I
the
just said to
question-
you that this wasn't the public comment period.
So that later on in this conversation, okay, great. I just have the last question.
Well, are you done, Jim? So we'll continue. Thank you so much. And we'll continue with the executive director report. So let me just, we're gonna make some modifications, right? Because these meetings need to be held solemnly and in the forum. So we're not gonna have a bunch of questions being asked back and forth, not because we don't want to entertain the questions, but it is an administrative nightmare for myself and a small housing authority like this, to try to capture and make sure that I capture everybody's information accurately. So as a part of, this was something that was on the bottom of the executive director's report, but I'm gonna bring it to the top since we're at that area. Going forward, beginning the next meeting, we can also use that contact form if you choose to, and I'll put a notification on the website as well. If you choose to speak at the, at this meeting, make a public comment, you'll need to sign up. Information that is required will be there. You need to have your name, your address, what you're gonna be talking about. So you don't have to write what you're gonna talk about, but it can be a title, what you're gonna be speaking about, and you have to register, and it'll be at least 2 weeks in advance, so that when the meeting comes out, it'll be on the agenda. The meeting, and at that time, folks will have 2 to 3 minutes to speak, depending upon the number of speakers, so that we can manage it accordingly. Otherwise, you know, like with this, Commissioner Smith just spoke about with the notes, there was a lot of back and forth, and there wasn't any cohesive comments, and it didn't capture everybody's name as we should, and we don't want to miss anything for the purposes of retaining history and reporting out publicly. We have to make sure that we do those things.
Are we gonna vote on that?
We can.
I think just the only thing in that policy that I would not support is the 2 weeks in advance. Cause I think questions come up, and the way that like the city of Hudson's public meetings are posted is like, you know, I don't wish this on us, but the planning board goes till 10 o'clock. Because it's a part of the process, and I think we can't close off the public comment part of the process or close people out, and I don't think that that's what you're intending to do. But limiting it to having to submit 2 weeks in advance to comment is going to be.
Claire, this is Margaret Morris. I have my hand raised. First, I want to echo what Claire is saying about the 2 week issue.
One moment. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Yeah, I think that that's the only thing that I would advise us to not include, just
I'm
because
sorry,
it's
I completely missed it. Are you
The-
suggesting more time?
less time or no time, or they can sign up to speak when they get here if they're not on the list by the time we call the names to read, but I don't think asking people to submit ahead of time is in the character of our meetings or for this process in general.
And just so you can know, that's the only reason I say that time is so we can add to the agenda to
Yeah.
make sure that we have enough time to address everybody, so.
Then I think we should have parameters of how long public comment can
It's
be.
gonna be the 2 to 3 minutes based on the number of speakers.
But I mean, like in the meeting, like we have like 30-minute public comment period, or
I see.
you know what I mean, cap how long we're gonna accept the comments. Give people time limits to speak, I think is fine, but asking people to submit ahead of time is difficult, because I think we're gonna
piss people off, honestly.
So what's your pleasure?
Can you
I just needed to be more organized.
yeah, I'll make a
Mhm.
motion if you restate the things that you're proposing.
You have a comment?
Well, why don't you restate first, and then we can,
So with that modification, is a week
Yeah.
good enough? Because I normally send the package out on the agenda without a week after. Or you're just saying they need to be able to come.
I think they should be able to come to the meeting and sign
And
up to
sign up
speak.
at that time? Okay, so, what I'm proposing is that for public comment, we have, citizens, residents, whomever comes to the meeting, sign up at the time of the meeting, to be able to be on the agenda to speak during the public comment period, so we can have a organized meeting and make sure that, everybody's recognized, just like somebody's online now with their hand up, which I can't see.
Well, then I'll make a motion to use aforementioned policy, like, make that a policy for meetings going forward. I'll second it.
Any questions?
I'm just not sure if that's gonna solve the goal, which I agree. That we have an issue of a lot of repetitive questions being asked, a lot of questions that could go towards it. I think the living document, as you're describing it, the FAQ, I think is a good addition. That we can, if questions are too long, too much for the meeting, they don't get put aside, they get answered separately in this document that people can reference. And then if there are questions that get asked during the meeting that have already been answered in that document, we can just point people towards the document or say, please submit it in writing and it will be answered before the next meeting. So
So,
I think that a lot of questions could get handled like that. And I kind of like that I think people will sign up and then the same problem could happen where we have a lot of repetitive questions that we have to go over.
And I hear that, so I think that like. I then think that it should be suggested that you submit your questions. And then we can match it up to the document, but there still be an allotted time period for people day of public comment.
Yeah. I agree.
okay, so we need to amend the official motion. To somebody, because it was moved to second. So we need to make an amendment to that motion to
Have an allotted time period for people that are speaking day of.
So that is the same, they'll still speak this, they'll still speak, do the same, speak the day of, however.
There's an allotted time
There is
period
a lot of time to take.
for the meeting, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, does that capture what you want?
So,
I think that's good.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right. And just so folks don't feel like you're ignored, when we get to the public comment period, I see your hand. Ms. Morris and Mr. Kopnicki, and we will get to you momentarily. The next thing is, I see you as well, Mr. I just looked up, sorry about that. The resident meeting is scheduled for July 2nd, 2024. We're gonna move the time of the meeting up to 5 p.m. Some residents have spoken to me that in bed by that time, so they don't want to wait till 6 o'clock. So we'll move the meeting up to 5 p.m. You can come down and attend the meetings. Hopefully it'll be well attended. And at that time, again, we'll have our development partners here so that they can answer questions for the residents, and engage them, and we can talk about other business, housing authority business. And that's it for today. Next, we'll move to public comment. The first person was Margaret Morris. You have the floor.
Yes, hi. Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the policy you just passed. So a couple of months ago, when you were coming to meetings of the council, you were encouraging members of the public to come to these meetings to participate and so forth. So I have two questions. A, does this public comment period remove any opportunity for members of the community to ask questions during the meeting when you're discussing a particular issue on the agenda? So that would be my first question. And B, will people who are participating remotely be allowed to raise their hand and ask questions during the meeting? And frankly, some of what you're suggesting here seems to be running counter to the please, members of the community, come here, participate, join in the discussion. It doesn't sound that way. And Claire, I want to thank you for speaking up about the 2-week window, because that really is not how things operate, and you cannot be expected to know what it is you're going to comment on 2 weeks before a meeting where you haven't seen the agenda. That's all I have to say. And I would like an answer to those 2 questions.
So first off, this is to organize the meeting. I don't have a problem with folks coming and asking questions, but just to make it very plain, last meeting, we had a back and forth and question conducive to our decision making. So when and it's just like I do public comment typically with the residents before you guys started attending. When residents come and they ask questions, I do not typically answer questions during a meeting unless it's something, you know, extremely obvious or a quick answer. Otherwise, I typically ask folks to come to my office or we answer them in writing depending upon what the situation is. So, there are questions, and in addition to that, it is not because we don't want to answer questions, but we want to give accurate answers to the questions, and everything is not going to be, you know, we're not going to give it to you off the top of it. It's not the best way to do things. Number one, to make sure that we give accurate answers, and quite frankly, the business of a housing authority, a government business, is there's a breadth of information, and I don't personally know all the answers off the top of my head. I can get the answers, but again, to that point, we want to make sure that we answer people accurately. So it's not to discourage, questions, it's to organize. If you were a part of the meeting, but in typing the minutes, which I do myself, it was so much back and forth, I couldn't hear people's names. And I want to make sure that we report those things out accurately, as well as answer questions accurately. So that is the purpose. It is not to discourage people from speaking.
So can you answer my 2 questions? My first question was, will people participating remotely be able to either ask questions or comment? That was question A. And B, does the public comment policy now prevent members of the public from asking questions during the meeting on a particular agenda item that is being discussed? Those were my 2 questions, which should not require you to take that back. They are fairly straightforward questions.
So public will be able to speak and you'll be able to ask questions, which I thought I addressed.
Can I say something?
Wait 1 second. Do you have your answer?
Yeah, you did not answer the question about people attending remotely, because people attending remotely will not be
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just
will
said
not
yes.
be- no, they will not be able to sign up. Your policy requires that as people come in, they sign up. So
Raising
we'll,
your hand is the
Raising your
same thing as
hand,
signing
we
up
will acknowledge
virtually.
it. I
okay,
just
that's
said
fine.
yes.
Thank you. That answers
You're
it. Thank you.
welcome. Thank you. One second, because I have to access control. So Mr. Kopnick,
Yes, I'm a resident of Hudson. Generally, I oppose any attempt to put prior restrictions on public speech at public meetings. I mean, as long as you're allowing the public to have some
can you
opportunity.
speak up a little bit, sir?
Sorry.
Can you
Okay.
please speak up?
I basically object to trying to put prior restrictions or restraints on the ability of the public to speak and ask questions at meetings, as long as you're going to give them any scope to do so. One example that I can think of is what I'm doing right now. I've been at many meetings where I perhaps did not intend to speak, but something comes up in the course of the meeting and I spontaneously want to have a response. So I really do think that, you know, you should minimize the number of restrictions on public participation, especially since we've been promised the opportunity to comment and follow the you know, the procedure, the procedure of this whole project with regard to Bliss Towers and so on. And you can, you know, you can impose time restrictions when someone does speak about how long they're allowed to speak. 3 minutes is sort of the minimum from my experience in public meetings and being able to say anything. So there also has to be an opportunity to respond to comments. So I think that's all I have to say, and I'd like to second what Ms. Morris said. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, and just to be clear, we are not restricting people from speaking, we just said that. We're just trying to organize the way in which it's done. That's all. Mr. Hugo.
Thank you. I just want to acknowledge the intent, which I think is
I'm
great.
sorry, like everybody else, can you please, just for the record, please say your name.
Actually, that was my first comment. So according
Thank
to
you.
New York State open meeting, someone does not have to identify themselves at the DS of the chair. Now, I'm happy to do so, but I prefer to be identified as a clearly labeled immigrant for a bunch of reasons, like the right to you, like but the second point is, Commissioner, you were exactly correct. Your suggestion follows New York State open meeting rules, which I suggest you follow, which is to allow someone to make a decision the day of to speak, but to submit a question or comment in writing ahead of time that is either circulated or read out loud. So I just suggest that you guys follow that process, because the state has already outlined that if we don't follow it, it can be applied. Is that a helpful suggestion to acknowledge?
I think we already made the
Yeah.
decision to do that.
And then my
And this is an example of going over and over. We made the decision, we heard very clearly what's being asked, right?
No, you didn't say.
No,
You say open meeting law specifically.
Well,
That's
we don't,
specific
I don't have to say that. You each, the bottom line is that everybody asks that they be able to make comments and not be restricted. And we've amended the policy to do that.
Okay, so if you agree to follow the New York State open meeting law, go and buy it.
And in addition to that, the one reason why we ask people to identify them, not because I really want to know who you are, but because for the purpose of the minutes, people can know who is speaking.
And that is.
And
great.
so it can be recorded accurately.
I'd like to just jump in and defend Jeff in this moment, because I do feel like we hired Jeff and he's doing his due diligence, and this is a new process for the housing authority. I think we have always followed the open meeting minutes and laws, and we're just restating the things that we're now expecting of people as the public are beginning to, you know, participate in this process more with us. But I don't think that we should be questioning the intent or the intention in this way. We made the motion, it passed, that's our new policy, it's been explained. I think if you can move to your next point, that would be helpful.
Absolutely, and when I started speaking, I called the same here. Thanks for saying that. Clear, and to that point, I care about the tactics, so we in future meetings better to go over the stuff. I feel your pain on that, and I say to Tom, what a thankless job you have to corral these tough meetings. My final question, or you can frame it as a suggestion, I just did log into the website that you just referenced 10 minutes ago. And in order to view it, you have to log into Google Docs. Now, that is of course not illegal, but I think it's more productive and more helpful if it's on the open internet. And hence my suggestion of turning it into PDF. We do not have to belabor the point now. I'm happy to send you guys an email with what section is outlines the best behavior there. Because, for example, with this current system, if someone's on an Outlook Express machine or something, they could get the wrong thing. And as we can tell by this meeting, folks are rushing that they can try to ask the same question at the same time. So if it's a PDF that's on the open internet, then we can all find it regardless of the device.
Okay, we'll definitely take a look at it. Thank you for the suggestion.
Thank you, Hugo.
Right. Commissioner Decker, you had a comment?
No, no.
Mr. Davis, you had a comment?
Couple of questions. With this elevator situation, you guys turn it off at night, you turn it off on the weekend.
Just a small elevator at 9
Yes,
o'clock.
just a small elevator. They turn it off at night, but it's off the whole weekend. Why is that?
The whole weekend? I was not aware of that. That's not what's supposed to happen.
Goes off Friday night, but then come back on to a Monday morning.
I'm shocked because that's not what
Sure you are.
yeah, I had no idea. Well, I said it, Mr. you later.
All right,
And if this is, how long has this been happening, sir, if I can ask?
since the guy can turn it off.
And this is the first time you're bringing it to my attention?
First time I really came to the.
But you see me every day.
I see you every day, but honestly, I get tired of smoking and going back. That's why I don't
Well,
always say,
That's not the way it's supposed to be. I'll take it.
but that's one problem. Second problem is, for some reason periodically, we're finding seeing people leaving hypothermic meetings, scared me. Over about, people the kids be that.
The
How
gazebo.
that be addressed?
I'm uncertain how we're gonna be, it's gonna be addressed, but as I said, I got your email today, and I said, thank you for the information, and going to shoot it.
It's Friday right now. You know, this elevator thing is a big problem.
And I'm sure it is, but I really wish you would say something, because that's not the way it's supposed to be.
Right, that's what I'm.
And if that's the case, because it's been, you know why we do it, so that we
And I
can,
understand. I
right.
understand,
But if you're saying that it's been off the entire weekend, which no one else has ever said to me. No one,
Does elevator go?
It does,
for the
there's been,
entire weekend,
for the entire weekend.
nobody else has ever said it. That'll be,
Because it's an emergency off bid. And I'm a first responder, and I gotta come out to John. It takes me 3 minutes to be downstairs.
well, I wasn't aware of it being taken care of.
Appreciate it.
Any other public comment? Yes.
So,
Same thing for the record.
my name is Carla.
I'm sorry.
Carla.
Carla.
Sapp.
Thank you.
So regarding the redevelopment, where can somebody or what are the next steps? And in that umbrella question is are you, Mr. Johnson, the HHA directing Monaco with, like, okay, do this, next, is Monaco and you directed Monaco to say, okay, come back to me with the next set of plans? What are the next steps, like the immediate next steps, the long-term, next steps? I'm just throwing out, it's not that I expect you to answer all this now, but I'm just throwing out these are the questions that I have, regarding. There's a conversation that I've been trying to find out about research on my own about the potential soil issue that could affect the building. You know, how is that getting addressed, resolved, confirmed, whatever? With that, how does that then affect the work diligence that the architect did? When does that get included, not included? You know, like, there are like many different questions I have that, you know, the soil is an issue because it's on
The document. I'm just looking at it while we're doing it. There are two specific question answers regarding the soil. And a quick answer that we gave at the planning board was, from the developer's perspective, and tell me if I'm wrong in saying this. You can build anywhere these days. Bad soil, bad anything. It's a matter of the cost. It's a matter of the effort put into it, but you can build anywhere. But I think that if a lot of these, that is a really good, you're saying you have a lot of questions. Check out this document and then you can add to it. You can email more questions. Keep going with what you're asking.
Fair enough.
But it's a great place to start to check in on some of these.
That you're absolutely right. I do know that you can build anywhere on anything. I also know how much what's the cost. So that gets included in it. And I've been on projects where the cost to fix the soil to build was very, very high. So once you do your due diligence, like there's due diligence that needs to happen regarding the soil issue to then determine is the architect's plan feasible given your budget? So what? Where is that, like, where do I go to find out that that's happening, those conversations are happening, and that the public gets to hear about it or do it? Like, these are the things that I'm interested in. I'm interested in knowing and I don't know if this is even, public domain, but what were the conditions what were the conditions that the architect was given to design what he designed? Is that in the, again, I will do my due diligence and read the questions, but.
I just want to give a suggestion, not necessarily an answer to your question, but I think like a lot of your questions are process questions that we probably won't have the answer to until further down the process, but I think if you and Jeff have a one-to-one meeting, that maybe you'd get some of those questions answered. I think that the public should also feel comfortable speaking to the executive director about what is in his job description, because him working hand in hand with the developer, some of that knowledge doesn't necessarily need to come to a meeting unless it's asked. And I think if there's specific parts of the process with, you know, you have a background in construction and projects, if there's something that you are specifically interested in, that you should also feel like you have access to have a conversation with Jeff offline and get some of those answers.
I have tons more questions, so what I'll do is I'll go and read the document. If you're okay, can I email you some questions or not?
So we're taking the question, is it okay? Okay.
Go ahead.
I want to say, so we're taking the questions to the contact page so we can consolidate them all with one person. But I can add a question to the Q&A for the next distribution, so hopefully 2 weeks or so, which will be the process of the development process. It'll be pretty generic, but it seems like that's of your, in your question, right? So the 3 months of the zoning, the overlapping 12 months of the financing process, the overlapping 6 months of the architect's design process. So happy to add that as a Q&A, and I think that should address timeline development questions.
No, okay, and then when I ask this last question, then I'll make it quick. Is there a time frame that you say, I don't know, I'm maybe pressing it to Terry, that the construction is going to be built? Like, when's the end? You have a sense? You know?
So this is to kind of go back to the beginning. Part of what we're waiting for is approval from the state to even move forward. One of the things we've said that we continue to say is that we are in the planning stages. So there's certain things we're doing in preparation and anticipation of improvement, but there are other things that we have to wait for until we get approval to move forward. We guesstimated, and I'm very particular about saying stuff like this, but we guesstimated that we get approval, we could probably be, start construction early in spring 25 or summer 25. But it is all conditional, which is why I personally don't like to give those type of answers, because I'd rather know solid. Anything can happen in the meantime or in between time where we have to pivot and change the direction of our.
No, I
Yeah.
wasn't asking, I wasn't necessarily asking, like, if you know that once approval, it's gonna take you 12 months to build, or once approved, it's gonna take you 18 months to build, not the day. You do have a lot of things to do, and inside of that, those planning that you're waiting for the state's approval, is it the intention that you're gonna be doing the necessary due diligence regarding soil, and that if state approves, right, is There's like a lot of things that have to be in parallel, that if there's not sufficient work happening, then you're gonna get approval, you'll get approval, but then the three of us at least know, and Nick, you probably do, because you're in construction, like the cost of handling, fixing the environment to build on can be extraordinarily expensive. And it'll be, it could be potentially a problem. I just want that everything is working in tangent, simultaneous, like the whole thing, so that when you get your approval.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Is there any indication that none of that is happening? Are we given any indication that we don't know what we're doing?
You really want me to answer that?
100%.
Okay, great.
I do.
Very good.
I'd love you to say it publicly.
Okay, great. I keeps coming up for me that there is information that when asked, it appears as though you're either withholding it or you don't have.
What
Wait a
reason
minute,
do you
sir.
have to
You just
withhold
asked me.
information? But what reason do I have to withhold information?
It's not, okay,
First and foremost, before I owe information to you, I owe it to the residents. They need to know what's going on. We're not just throwing up some building just because. We meet every week, every Wednesday to do our due diligence. I'm not just sitting here collecting a check. And so forgive me if I'm insulted, but I am.
okay,
Because
sir.
we are doing our due diligence and we picked a qualified developer through HUD protocols of procurement. A qualified developer who's been in business for how long?
35 years.
But we don't know what we're doing.
Sir,
That's what I want you to consider.
okay, I am considering it, and I
Just
just
like you
researched
say,
on
it
my.
seems like we're withholding information, it comes off,
I said it
as if-
appears. Yes, it
and it
appears.
appears that you're saying we don't know what we're doing.
It appears so that if you do, there's not, my experience when I ask questions, I don't know where to go to get more information to appreciate it all. Like, when did you, like, what was the condition that you gave the architect to design what he designed?
A year ago, there was an RFQ on our site, which we chose and actually was advertised in the paper. It had to be advertised in the paper. So we're not, this is just,
Wait, what did you hear me ask?
no, I heard what you said.
No, what did you hear me ask? I wanted to know what were the conditions?
You said, what were the conditions? A request for qualifications.
No, it's not about.
No, listen, I know what you asked and I know what I'm answering.
No.
The request, no, please listen. The request for qualifications included the parameters of what we want done. So
Okay.
that a year ago, for all of the folks that are just coming on board, online as well, a year ago, advertised in the paper through the proper channels, this information has been put out there an entire year ago. We haven't just started working on this yesterday.
Okay, so, sir, if you're a public official and you're gonna ask the public a question about what they think, then I would request that you allow them to speak and not react. So that's number
Well,
one.
and I would ask you not to be insulting, because I'm
Well,
not
I'm
insulting
not-
you, but
I'm
you
not-
could, this is the second meeting.
As the vice chair, I'm gonna ask for a point of order.
Yeah.
I think that we need to either move on to the next question and you guys find time offline to continue this conversation, or we close public
Here-
comment.
My question is to the architect, then in that RFP, was it in there, said you have permission or you have carte blanche to close a piece of the street?
It's a proposal.
So,
I
It's
got
a
that, I got that, but so
So-
then it's a proposal, but there's no room. My experience is in the short time that I'm participating, is that there's no room to challenge that proposal because it becomes like, oh, you're against building something.
How about
there
this?
have been,
You just live in a building for 1 month, rent free,
This
and
is
you
what I'm-
see what we go through. Once again, I'm gonna keep saying that. You live here 1 month rent free. To see what we go through. Obviously, you heard it from a tenant that we have our elevator closed Friday night and Monday morning. Please,
This is
I'm
not
a- I'm a-
about
I'm a-
not having you build, get your building. It's not about that. I'm asking questions and
I get that.
I will go to the document, I will read the document. I will request to have time to meet with you. I'll send, I don't know, if you tell me what's the best way to schedule a meeting with you
You can use the contact form on the website,
on the, which one?
on our website, Hudson Housing Authority.
Okay, great. And I'll do that, and then I will,
Just for the record, this is a very frustrating process. Not because I personally can't take and deal with talking to the public, but it's frustrating because we know how much work that we've been putting into it, and just like Commissioner Cousins said in the last meeting, it is important that we move quickly, and because folks can be, it's imminent. And any delay in the process, which seems like just a delay as opposed to true concern, is discouraging to the folks that live here, as well as the team that is trying to get this work done. And the bottom line, and so that's why it's frustrating, because I personally know, and this is it's a question of my integrity. That's how I feel about it. I personally know that we have the best intentions. That's why I came to Hudson. That's why the board, that's what they put forward in terms of what they were looking for. And that's what we're working towards, to make something for the residents of this part of the city who have had to live in this squalor for 50 years. They deserve something nice. We have a proposed project that can be changed depending upon what type of responses we get. But we are working diligently. I mean, listen, the reality of it is we're not gonna be able to make everybody that. That is life. But we're doing our best to make sure that we serve the residents of this building as well as complement the city. That is the mission. That's it. That's it. And I can't be any more sincere. Are there any other comments?
There's a hand on one.
Okay, 1 second, Mr. Kopnick, one person before we go ahead. You gotta
Hello.
speak.
Okay,
Hold on, Ron.
1 minute,
1
Ronald.
second, sir.
all right, sorry.
Say that the state has the approval, proposal, I believe.
Yes,
And so what if the state does that? Y'all gotta start all over, ground one, I mean, from zero or what?
well, what they may say is based on what we've given them and what we propose, they may say, well, this is, we're in support of your project, but it may not work this way, or we're not going to support it this way. These are modifications we suggest that you make. So I truly believe that the state is in support of us, but they're not just gonna write a blank check. But that's why we make a proposal, and we're waiting for information to come. But thank you for the question. Is there something else? No. Mr. Kopnick?
Yes, I just have a factual question. Where are your agendas available online?
The agenda is not online. After the meeting, the minutes are on.
But no, so we can't know in advance what your agenda is then.
I can make that modification if the board doesn't have a problem.
I would appreciate that. I'm sure the public would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for your suggestion, Miss Margaret Morris.
Yes, Mr. Hudson, I may have missed this. What is the status of the application for the Restore New York grant money?
The status of the application is that it was not submitted and would probably not have been approved, and so we're moving to the next source of funding. And
So it was not submitted
No, it was not.
because? Any particular reason?
So there
Well,
was
the reason I ask is it was quite a
Okay, can you let him answer your question quick? He started speaking. I don't know if you could hear him.
no, the council voted with a quorum.
He started answering your question, so I'd like him to answer your question and then you can continue with your comment.
Okay. But what was
So-
the answer? The question was why was not submitted?
Yep, he's
Right,
answering.
right. So there was a specification in the qualifications regarding vacancies, which we realized we would not have qualified and therefore did not submit.
So my comment is that the reason I voted against it was that I did not feel the project met criteria, which was exactly the case that I made in the council. I just want to make that noted.
Thank you.
Was it that criteria, Margaret, about vacancies?
It was criteria actually about, well, I went through there were several criteria that you did not meet. I bulleted the high ones. The one that was specifically demolition was for various that it had to be either vacant, abandoned, or condemned. And Bliss Towers does not meet any of those criteria or surplus. So it was on the basis of the fact that Bliss Tower was not a condemned building and it was currently occupied and therefore did not meet criteria for demolition. So yes, it was related to vacancy. And I made all of those points very clear in my statement of the council.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Is there any more public comment? Are there any more comments? Yes.
I would like to email you guys and you got to back. I think you may still not be receiving my email. I don't know. They're copied the team 2.5 weeks ago and said like we got you and you copied in you, but we have still not been able to exchange an email. So I would like to know, could we fix that? Should we correspond, in paper and mail? And I don't mean that's accounting. That's also okay. I just want to be able to, ask questions. All public.
If you use the contact us section on the website, those emails will be filtered to.
Basically, to clarify, you do not want to have the email questions about the project.
You can use the to clarify. You can use the contact section.
Yep.
To
So-
email the housing authority and the questions will be answered. If they're related, or they're either gonna be answered on the question and answer, it's something I need to get back to you directly. We'll make that determination. But we are going to be running those questions through the contact us section.
Got it. Do you, then those office hours perhaps where citizens can sign up and ask you questions live to get the information?
You can come and see, you can make an appointment. I'm not saying.
How
that
do I
I
make the
will-
appointment? Do I email you? Do I email Chris?
Come to the office.
Okay, got it. We'll try that this week. If it doesn't work for you next month, then we'll have that feedback session on. Thanks.
Any more comments? Yes.
You said the state, you're waiting for the state to then be able to move forward. And the state would be in support of the proposal, and the proposal that was sent includes the architect's proposal. That includes the architect's proposal, that's part of what the state has to review and determine the plan.
There's a full requirement for technical assistance, with documents regarding our funding, sources and uses, preliminary plans, height of the building, all of those things, everything that we've been talking about has gone to the state as a package.
That includes the,
We are co-developers, we are a team.
so that includes that accurate?
So I'll make it, if it's okay with the board, maybe I'll highlight the fact that I think that there was a genuine interest on its side and a little bit of a misunderstanding on the actual timeline and the overlap, right? So the submission, for example, to a lender for financing is one part of a conversation that's gonna be largely overlapping with that same conversation on can the soil be done, right? So I think what will be really useful, and I don't need to defer this for like, 2 weeks, but I think it'll be really useful if I paper the question of the development timeline together. And it will show that there was an overlap. If I did this discussion all kind of like road, would be really overlapping. Thanks.
Anyone else?
Any other comments? Motion to, oh, I'm sorry, yes,
So if the,
Ms. Jeanette. Right,
not to submit, application for support for the grant, support the demolition, are, what you're pursuing next, is it, are they oriented towards supporting the construction of the new buildings, which would of course would have to come first, or would it still be, the grant is pursuing, are they still for the demolition? Or both?
right, so wherever we determine or see that we are able to fit, wherever we can look and see where our project qualifies for, and we can acquire that funding for whatever area it may be, because we are clear that we have a gap, we will use those avenues to fulfill that. I don't know all of the grants that are out there, but I do know that there are some coming up. And, you know, we'll look at those and see if we qualify, what we qualify to submit.
I see. So if you qualify, then you apply for it, no matter what stage it's for.
Yes, I mean, if it's available, so for example, the way we would have qualified for this one was we would have qualified for demolition, we couldn't have been able to use it for anything else. So that's the fifth which we apply, that's why we apply for it. You're welcome. Anyone else? Is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
No, second nigger.
All in favor?
Hi,
Yeah,
thank you all for coming.